Welcome to the Dare to Multiply podcast. On this podcast, we help passionate Jesus followers become courageous, obedient disciples who impact their communities for the kingdom of God. I'm your host, Cynthia Anderson, a disciple multiplication coach and trainer. We have some amazing guests coming up, people who are taking risks to launch new discipleship movements in their areas. I can't wait to learn from them and introduce you to their ministries. Together, we'll show you how to make and multiply disciples and groups in your area. If you're new here, be sure to subscribe to the podcast and our YouTube channel so you don't miss out on any tools or content coming your way. I also wanted to mention a free newsletter on disciple making that I send out every single week. It's called Daring Disciples, and it's all about how to share your faith, overcome obstacles we all face in the journey toward multiplication. To subscribe to that, go to daretomultiply.com/newsletter. Let's dare to multiply. How do I disciple someone who is so different from me? It could be that you're thinking cross-culturally, someone who's from a different religious faith, or someone who's from a different political party, someone whose values are so different from yours. How do you even begin to disciple someone who's radically different from you? Well, today on the podcast, I have a wonderful guest. Her name is Jeannie Marie. She's a good friend, and she's someone who is a best-selling author. There's an amazing book that we'll be talking about across the world and across the street. I always get the two mixed up. I think that's the name of it. We'll be giving you that, and it's a great book. I have it back in Thailand. I'm looking forward to getting a copy of it back here in the US again. But I am so excited to have Jeannie Marie with me today. And we'll also today be doing an extra interview with Jeannie for those of you who have subscribed already to the Exploring Further or the Diving Deeper membership that we have just begun to offer. We will be offering a further interview with Jeannie on this topic where we're going to dive deep into how do you share the gospel, especially with people from a Muslim background. So you're not going to want to miss that interview, but that is available only to our members. So you can look in the show notes, and we'll be giving information at the end once again, on how to subscribe to that if you're interested. But for now, we're going to dive in and talk to Jeannie Marie about how do you share the gospel with someone who's radically different from you. This is going to be an amazing time with Jeannie, so I'll be right back with that and with Jeannie in just a moment. Are you busy but not seeing the fruit you long for? Dissatisfied with your present level of impact on those around you? Or frustrated with traditional methods of discipleship that don't seem to be effective? If so, the Getting Started in Disciple Making Movements course may be just what you need. Inside the Getting Started program, you'll get access to a step-by-step proven approach to making and multiplying disciples. Not only will you receive 25 short and practical video teachings spread out over 6 modules, but you'll have a chance to connect with others for group coaching via our monthly Zoom calls. And even more importantly, you'll become part of a global community of like-minded people from all over the world who are passionately committed to following Jesus and impacting others around them. If you want to get unstuck and begin moving forward as a disciple who makes disciples, I encourage you to go to courses.dmmsfrontiermissions.com and sign up for this powerful program today. And now to today's episode. Well, I am here with my friend, Jeannie Marie. Jeannie, so good to have you on the Dare to Multiply podcast. So excited that you're here with us. And Jeannie is a good friend, someone that I have known for a number of years. We've never actually met in person, though we want to. And in fact, we were just talking about we've got to go paddleboarding somewhere sometime because we really both admire and respect each other. And it's just been so fun throughout the years to interview you different times. You've interviewed me I offered Jeannie Marie's course as a bonus course to mine. She offers part of my course as a bonus course to hers. And we just have been co laborers with this shared passion to see disciples multiply at home and abroad. And so, Jeannie Marie, welcome. So good to have you.
It is such an honor to be here, and I love the way we collaborate, and I love our friendship.
Oh, me too. Yeah. Well, tell us a little bit what's been happening with you. I do want to mention your book. I'm going to go ahead and just pop that up there so I always get which one across the street around the world, which one comes first wrong. So I'm going to put it there in front of me. Across the Street and Around the World is an amazing book that Jeannie Marie wrote a number of years ago, but is widely used in the missions world. And I just have to tell you a quick testimony.
Okay.
Just 2 days ago, I was out for coffee with somebody, and I was telling them about my podcast and training we have, and somehow your name came up, and I mentioned, oh yeah, and we offer a bonus course that Jeannie Marie wrote. Do you know who that is? And she said, is she the author of Across the Street and Around the World? I said, yeah, she is. And she said, we read that book, and it has so helped us in the work we're doing with a Muslim group here in the US. And just they just followed your book step by step, and they are making such inroads and just
Oh,
doing a phenomenal job. And a lot of that comes from out of your book, Jeannie. So many people you've influenced through the course, through all that you do. You're just a hero, and God has done so much through you already. But
wow. Praise
I
God.
wanted
I
to
just, that
encourage
is just
you.
so,
Yeah,
that makes me just so, yeah, it feels so good inside. And also just praise God for all of that,
yeah.
right? Like,
Praise God. It's
yeah.
incredible what he does as we just simply obey him, and
Hmm.
we go out there. You wrote that book. I'm sure the Lord was speaking to you to put those words on paper. And in that step of obedience, God has worked powerfully, and so
Hmm.
many lives have been touched through you. So, yeah, but tell me, other than writing books and you're starting some new courses, but what are you up to? What are you up to
Yeah,
these days?
well, I was just thinking, I just got back from the Philippines where I was at a conference in our organization, and we had 50 people from 50 nations who
Wow.
are cross-cultural workers working with Muslims, and it was so inspiring, I will just have to say, because these are people that are out
Mm.
there in the trenches. They're from 50 countries, so not just
Wow.
Westerners, right? These are
Right.
all
Right.
over. We had so many languages going on, and I was so inspired to see the dedication, and we talked strategy all the time. I love strategy, so that was super fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and Philippines, am I remembering right? Is that where you grew up?
That's where I grew up. Yeah, so I got
Right.
to take my daughter with me on this trip. She served the third culture kids, and so we went early, and I got to visit the school where I grew up in, and because we're both third culture kids, and show
Yeah.
her, and actually meet. This is an inspiring story for people listening. The speaker was a Filipino who was just amazing. So he's speaking, and I was like, oh, that's Kuya Ray. That is who I grew up with, was my like uncle, and my father
Wow.
had baptized him when he was 17, just a kid,
Wow.
and discipled him, and they've kept in touch with them. But as a kid, I didn't really know, and I'm like, oh, that's Kuya Ray, and he's starting movements, and he's working with it is crazy. But that's where I think you and I both understand the power of investing in the one, and young people, and so yeah, it was exciting.
Yeah. That's amazing. And we both have a rich heritage and legacy that, by God's grace, we are carrying forward and seeing, yeah, incredible things happen through ordinary people. So,
That's
yeah,
right.
so good. Well, tell us a little bit more. Our topic today is how do we share the gospel, or how do we disciple someone who is radically different from us? And I know that you have done that cross culturally with many different kinds of people. But I think, to broaden the topic even a little bit, there are people who are just really different from us in our political persuasions, really different from us, maybe in their values, really different from us in a lot of different ways. So, as you guys listen to this, we want to talk about it in that sense. It's in some ways easier to share with people who are very similar to us. But
Mhm.
how do we cross that divide? Because a lot of people who are lost are radically different from us, those who don't know Jesus in our communities. And especially if you think about unreached people groups and those
Mhm.
who God has brought to our countries or who we live side by side amongst. How do we reach across those divides? So that's what we're going to be talking about today. But you've done that both as an overseas worker and you've done it back in your home country. And yeah, what are some of the main challenges that you faced in reaching across that divide of culture, religion, even politics, or things like that? What are some of the major barriers you faced?
Yeah, sure. I think the first one for me was the main challenge was I thought I had to be living overseas to do this. We both grew up overseas,
Mm.
and
Hmm.
I came back to the US when I was 18, and I went to college, I got a degree, got married, started having kids, and I just didn't want to live in a tribe. So I wasn't going to move overseas, right? That's my mindset. And so this
Mm.
first challenge in reaching cross culturally for me was just the idea that, oh, I thought I had to be this person who moved overseas and did all the things and sold everything. And that's when I realized, oh, internationals are right near where I am, right? And then the second challenge, then once I realized that, was time, actually. I was
Mm.
so busy and I had all the things and all the church stuff I was doing in small groups, and how do I create the
Mm.
time to, even in my own country, spending time with people from other cultures. Like, it
Mm.
wasn't just going to be a 1 hour time at a coffee shop like you would, with a Westerner. I need to go to their house
Mm.
and have tea and spend time with their family. And so creating that time was probably a challenge. And then the third one is I needed to learn how to speak their language, like, not just their heart language, but just how do they speak? How do Muslims speak? How can I enter their world in an honoring way, in a respectful way, so that they would welcome me like that? Those are the three things I think I really had to learn
Mm.
as I was
Mm.
crossing into other cultures.
Wow. Wow. Those are so important to identify. This idea that we have to become a traditional missionary that raises support and goes across the ocean, breaking that barrier and
Mhm.
realizing, wow, God's actually brought some people to where I live
Mhm.
that are different from me and that He wants me to engage with. And then the issue of time. Yeah, that's such a big issue in general in disciple making, isn't it? I mean, for
Mhm.
everybody. And that's why I subtitled my course, Even If You're Busy, how to
That's
make
right.
disciples, even if you're busy, because it's such a huge issue. And so, really curious about how did you overcome some of these issues, entering their world in a way that they could receive you, time, and the first one you mentioned about not having to go overseas.
Yeah. Well, the first thing I did was to just find people who were cross-cultural near me, right? I
Mm.
just basically Googled around me, where are the mosques, where are the temples, where are and I
Mm.
came across people working with refugees, Iraqi refugees. Now they lived an hour away. So I had to drive.
Mm.
And everyone listening here, even if you're living in Africa, you're living somewhere else, you're not in the US or somewhere, you may have to get inconvenient to get to the people that
Mm.
are needing Jesus that might never hear, right? So
Mm.
and I
Mm.
went to meet me. I'll illustrate these three things through Aisha, who was it's in my book, and it's just the first Muslim I ever met when I was 38 years old, actually.
Mm.
And so I had to go where she is, and I purposely put myself where she was. That's how I met people. And that's what I encourage everyone to do, is you got to go be where they are. You need to go find them, and just meet them, right? And then the second
Mm.
thing for the time is I realized in my Western mindset, I always scheduled things. I have a calendar, I scheduled things, right? And most of the time, people from Eastern cultures is maybe not so scheduled and everything. So I share this in my book and also in my course, but I started doing I scheduled unplanned time, right? So
Mm.
every Wednesday, for example, I would just block off that whole day. And that was the day that I drove down to visit the refugees, to be with them, and I could do whatever they wanted. And I was with them. And so, even if you're, you know, in India, a local Indian worker, we're busy, right? So we still have
Yeah.
to plan and be intentional about that time that we're going to spend with people. And then, as far as like learning how Muslims speak, and I needed to be in a place where I could really understand a person. And so with Aisha, and I do this now with everyone, is I wanted to figure out where she was lost and what she really wanted. And what she wanted was to practice her English, and
Mm.
she was struggling with some things in her life. And I just said, look, how about we read the Bible together, and we'll do it in English and Arabic together. And so you can kind of, so we would, and then you can practice your English, but also this will actually help you answer all these questions that you have and these struggles that you're having. She was like,
Mm.
yeah, let's do it. And so that's where we started just meeting every so often. We'd meet for a couple hours, and we'd have our spiced chai tea, and we always split a carrot cake. It was so wonderful. And she would just have her Arabic Bible. I gave her an Arabic Bible, and then I had the English Bible. And this is how I learned to listen. This is what we have to do. We have to listen to people and not just try to
Mm.
teach them. Like, she would read the scripture, and then she would translate it for me into English, even though I had it there, so that I could learn how she's perceiving these, and what words does she use for Jesus and for love, and for, even in English. And so that really helped me to learn how to listen and to hear, and not just be the teacher. Yeah, I do have a story
Mm.
about that. Should I tell you a quick story?
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure, please. Yeah,
Yeah,
go
so
ahead.
this is just an example. So we're going through the stories in the Old Testament. We were talking about Abraham, and how Abraham was going to a new land, and then God said, Abraham. And Abraham said, here I am. And so in English, it says, here I am. And in
Mm.
Arabic, the word is labayak. And she said, oh, Jeannie, no, 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 no. Labayak does not mean, oh, but here I am, God. I'm over here. Come find me. She goes, it means I say yes before you even ask the question. I
Mm.
say yes before you even ask the question. Labayak.
Mm. Love
And
that.
she was like, this is what we have to do with God. If he asks us to do something, we say, labayak.
Love it.
And I've got
Mm.
goosebumps because since then, I mean, that week we decided, okay, whatever we felt like God was asking us to do, we were going to say labayak. So I'm learning from her. I'm learning how she perceives things, and I'm growing as a result of
Mm.
it as well.
Wow. I love that. Labayak. What a good thing for
Labayak.
all of us to say. And you've just highlighted how so often when we do take that step, and sometimes we have to overcome fear or different, time constraints. But when we do take that step to engage with people cross culturally, we receive as much as we give,
Mhm.
and the insights that they bring, even before they believe from
Yes.
Scripture, that God highlights to us is so rich and so beautiful. And it's not something we want to miss out on. I was talking to somebody the other day who has many people from another religion there in their town, and they were frustrated with different things that these people did, and ways that they felt invaded or this or that. And I just thought to myself, oh, they are missing so much beautiful insights from God that could come to them if they would just step across that
Yes.
divide in faith and with God's help and with some guidance from people like you or me or whoever,
Mhm.
and take that risk, to
Yeah.
engage with people of another religious faith, of another culture, people who are different from us, and going, like you said, as a learner, as somebody who's a listener, not just a teacher, but yeah, really bringing the love of Jesus through our lives as you did with her. That's really beautiful. I also want to just put a pin in what you said.
Yes.
Purposely put myself where she was.
Mhm.
It does take intentionality. I don't have to go as far. I'm here in Minneapolis right now, and I've got people of other cultures across the cul-de-sac. I've got
Mhm.
people down the street. Um, but it still takes intentionality to step out of my door and go engage, and it's easier to just get in my car. and drive to my next appointment or whatever it is. So I love that. Scheduling time is so key. Scheduling that unplanned time, but with intentionality that I'm going to look
Hmm.
for an opportunity to
Yes.
engage with somebody like this. So so good. Yeah, let's talk about Muslims a bit more in particular. I just mentioned fear and some of
Hmm.
the misconceptions. And I know for many people who haven't had much contact with Muslims in particular, that can become a big barrier. You know, there's all these things you've seen on the news or all these things you've heard or maybe even experienced, you know, for some who are in countries where Muslims have Christians or attacked Christians. There's
Hmm.
fear involved
Yeah.
in these things. So, how did you overcome that in your life? Did you ever face it, or if you didn't, how have you helped people get past the fear?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I felt that when I met my first Muslims, it was right after 9/11. So I was
Mm,
terrified. And I didn't know, how to interact with them. I didn't know who were the good, good people and who or whatever. I didn't know what was to happen. And everyone feels this. I have thousands of people that have gone through my Inviting Me to Symbol Jesus course, and everyone feels this. That's my very first lesson. So I have three things. One is what helped me and what's helped so many people that are trying to make Muslim friends is to make a Muslim friend. Have a face that is a friend that's a Muslim. One friend,
mm,
just someone that you know personally. It just because then that face of that person, you realize, oh, they're just normal people. She's a mom, she has kids, she hurts, and she has these desires, she's struggling with these things. And so it really helps when you simply make a friend that's a Muslim.
mm,
And
mm,
so, how do you get over the fear of making a Muslim friend then? Like in my course, my very first lesson is I have people listen to the call to prayer, the
mm,
Muslim call to prayer. I have them listen to it and understand the words that they're saying. And so I would say as part of it is just to listen to the kinds of things that Muslims do, even outside, of meeting them, and feel how you feel and admit it. I do that in my course. I'm like, when you watch this call to prayer, how do you feel? And let's just be honest about those feelings. Oh, I feel a little scared. I'm not sure what it's. And then I see what they're actually saying in the prayer, and it's like, oh, actually, that's really beautiful. And okay, and I could give that feeling then to God and say, look, I don't want fear anymore. If I'm going to reach them, I need to love them. So help
mm,
me to love them. Help me to love them. And then the third thing is, and this seems so simple, but this is especially for people who will live in Africa and Asia, well, let's say India, eat with them. You need to eat in their home
mm,
with them or invite them into your home. They might not come, especially if you're in India and you're a Christian and you're a Hindu background Christian. They might
mm,
not come. You might need to go where they are, but if you can eat with them, it just melts a lot of barriers. In fact, when I speak up to people about, I ask them, say, even in the West or these, how many Muslim friends? Anyone have Muslim friends? People raise their hand. I have a Muslim friend, and I say, how many of you have eaten in their home? Maybe one or two, And I said, okay, they're not really a Muslim friend then. So that's your next
mm,
is get into their home. And part of this is, actually food for India, especially, is very important. Muslims don't eat pork, and um, uh, they eat beef, and Hindus don't eat beef, that kind of stuff. There's historical stuff with that, but also just the act of eating together. Jesus ate with a lot of people. It just
mhm.
reduces barriers. So those are just some easy things to do that are not so
Yeah.
easy, but if you do them, you'll start to love Muslims.
Yeah, and start to move forward in that.
Mhm.
Yeah, so good. Um, I liked what you said about all of that actually, but making a Muslim friend. Um, I think sometimes we have Muslim acquaintances. Maybe
Mhm.
you go to school with somebody who's Muslim, or but initiating and inviting, you know, and I think there's a lot of people, especially those who are immigrants in our countries, or they're people who have come to our countries out maybe refugees or Syrians or people,
Mhm.
they want to learn about our culture as well. They're
Yeah.
interested, and we can be a host. We can be a good host in our nation, to help them with welcoming them and saying, I know Thanksgiving can be a big one. Have you ever celebrated Thanksgiving? You're in America now, or would you like to come to a Thanksgiving meal with my family and see what this is all about? Or those kinds of things. How can we welcome? And even if they say no, they will know that you have offered hospitality,
Yeah.
which
And
is so
the
huge.
key to that
Yeah,
is, one, to ask, and then also I was talking to some people, I'm like, "Have you ever been in an American home?" They were here and they're like, "Oh yeah, over Thanksgiving we rented an Airbnb." And I'm like, "Yeah, that doesn't count. No,
that
you need to
doesn't
come to
work.
my house, right? That's not an American home." But here's the
Right.
key with especially Muslims. The reason why they might say no is they need to know that you're not going to serve pork.
Hmm.
um, they need to know there's several things to be aware of, that they just need to make them feel comfortable in your home, in there, if they come to your home. But it's a beautiful thing for a holiday. They love to come and experience whatever culture of whatever country that they're in right now. So it's a great idea.
Right. And then the chance that they'll reciprocate and give you that opportunity,
Yes.
also goes up much higher. But yeah, and what you said about the call to prayer also, just I think for so many of us, we hear that, and for those who are listening who aren't around a mosque but would do a call to prayer, it's a prayer that is done in a particular style, usually over a loudspeaker,
Mhm.
and it's done in Arabic, and it's not something that we're used to hearing, right? And so
Mhm.
when you hear that, you think, what is that? And why is it so loud? And I remember a time we were in Indonesia for meetings, and, you know, regularly, what is it, 5 times a day goes off?
Yeah.
Is that right? Yep.
Yep.
And so we would wake up and you'd hear this, thing going on. And you're like, what? I want to be praying to Jesus. And what is that
Yeah.
thing? And all
Mhm.
these assumptions we make. But as you start to understand, Muslims,
Mhm.
they they love God and they want
Mhm.
to respect their creator, and all these it's a matter of researching, understanding, and taking just those tiny steps and learning from a friend is really the
Yeah.
best way. Just asking
Mhm.
curious questions, what you say, is
Mhm. Yes.
really brings down those walls. But I think just bringing that beyond just the Muslim context, I feel like that's a key to overcoming any obstacle, is when you
Mhm.
start to put a face on it. I remember
Yeah.
in India there was a time where it was I was scared of the beggars. I
Mm,
just was
yeah.
scared to interact
Uh-huh.
with them because what are they going to
Mhm.
ask from me and what am I going to
Mhm.
do, and
Mhm.
because they were beggars. But when I became friends with some people who begged, and they had a face and they had a name, and I began to know them, it changed. I wasn't afraid of them
Yeah.
anymore. They were a real
Mm.
person. And you know what? They were not aggressive with me either because now I was a real person.
Right.
So
So
I
good.
feel like across so many divides, if we'll just be a person, make a friend, a lot of these walls start to fall.
Yeah, so good.
Yeah, yeah, so true. Well, um, yeah, I was just looking at our notes here, and our time is going really fast. We're already like 24 minutes in, and I want to make sure that we have time for a deeper dive interview, which I want to do with Jeannie to go into some deeper issues related to how to reach Muslims. But um, just talk about this one a bit. Some
Sure.
people think that you have to know a lot about the culture to begin to engage. I know people even who have gone abroad as missionaries, and well, I have to study the culture and research and get
Mhm.
know all about their holy books and know all about their culture, know the language perfectly before I can begin to share.
Mm.
How would you respond to that?
Yeah, I mean, I do think there are a few basic things that are really good to understand so that you don't disrespect their faith
Mm,
traditions and their family. So there's overarching, that's the things you want to learn. Buddhists, Hindus, Muslims, they generally hold some things sacred. And
Mm,
so the more you know about those things before you go in, how it will help you enter their culture. Not so much about their religion. Like, you don't need to know the five pillars. You don't need to take a seminary class on Islam, all that kind of stuff. You don't even need apologetics and things like that. But like for Muslims, it's like a few things is, the family is everything. So you don't want to disrespect anyone in an Eastern culture. You just need to know that you don't want to disrespect the family. There's a few simple Arabic words that are really helpful to know to enter their culture and to just, be able to build a you want to build bridges instead of walls. I have that in my course. It's just very simple. It's just a few words you need that will really help you open the doors. Um, and those kinds of things. And then also it's more important that you have an attitude of curiosity than if you know all the
mm,
answers and you're doing everything right. So you can enter any culture if you come in really humble and say, I don't really know how to do this. Can you help me? And yeah, do not wait until you know the language fluently. Do not wait until you've taken a class on Islam, right? Now walk into their culture. I mean, here's just a quick story. This is an example like when we went to India on our first survey trip, the other woman that I went with, she decided to cover and I decided not to cover just to see like how would the Muslims interact with us, right? And so we walk in and I
you're talking
realized
about
that first trip
covering your head for those
covering
who
your
are not
head because the
watching.
Muslims
Yeah,
cover their the Muslims in everywhere will mostly cover their head. And so in India that's the case. Well, the thing is she had asked a washerwoman to help her cover. And so she's this wealthy Western white woman walking around dressed like dressed like a street sweeper, and we didn't know. And
right.
I had my hair like this, right? And so I was looking a little loose. Where in India, you just need to go like this. So the next time,
She's
we
pulling, for those
realized,
who are just listening, she's pulling her hair back
yeah, oh, I'm
into
pulling my
a
hair back into a
ponytail.
ponytail so that I'm not like looking like, my hair is like a movie star, like all and so I realized after that, like, and we went back and moved there and everything. Oh, and I just need to be curious. I can walk in with some very simple things like be modest. Be modest. And I remember the first time I went into it was in Bangladesh and I had my hair back in a ponytail, so I was modest, but I wasn't covered because I'm a Western person coming, right? And and they know that I'm not Muslim and so right away they just accepted me, but I wasn't doing some things right, but they were like, "Oh, here, let me cover you so that you look more Bengali," And so you can walk into a situation with respect and curiosity, and you're going to be just fine.
I love that. Respect and curiosity.
Yes.
If we can just keep those in the forefront of our mind, how can I come in humbly? When we say respect, it's respecting the fact that I don't know everything.
Mhm.
I need you to help me. And that shows respect. I want to do things in a way that's appropriate for your culture. Please
Yeah.
help me. And people are willing. They're so willing, and those bonds begin to build as we do that, don't they?
Yeah.
I've been the same, and I still have to get help sometimes with my head covering when I go to those South Asian countries, and they
I saw
do
you in
it
an
over
African,
and over.
you had like a big cool head wrap around. I was like, "Wow, she is rocking it. That looks so cool." But it's not just
And
about the culture. It's also respect for their traditions, their their religion even, their religious background. They believed things for a really long time. So who are we to come in and be like, "Let's argue right away and I have all the answers." No. We
right,
go in with respect for what they've been taught and looking for bridges. And that's my biggest piece of advice, especially with Muslims, is yeah,
yeah.
don't disrespect the things that they believe and let's honor it. We don't agree, but we honor and then talk about what we have in common.
That's such a key point. Honoring and respecting doesn't mean you're agreeing with it,
Mhm.
but
Yeah.
it's just the polite way to approach people.
Mhm.
Those things are really precious to them.
Yeah.
And if you're going to start attacking things that are precious, you're going to have that wall. Boom.
That's right.
That goes up. And yeah, but I think we get a little confused about that when you say sometimes we think, oh, if I don't confront this, oh, they use this word that I'm not comfortable with, or they said this, or, they talked about their God, or they talked about Muhammad or whatever, and we're not comfortable with that. If we don't confront it right away, that we're agreeing, and that's just not true. It's just
Mm-mm.
being polite.
Yeah, if
Um,
there's a fine line, of course, but anytime that they say something and then we feel uncomfortable, like, "Oh, I don't agree with that. I should say something," or whatever, just think, "Where am I at in this relationship?" Well, am I at the point where even just with a regular friend who is looks and speaks like me, is it time to talk about these deeper things? And then you're also with Muslims, they will definitely argue with you right away. Jesus is not the son of God, Jesus is not God, blah blah blah, and they will want to talk about this right in the beginning. I mean, most Muslims are they want to go for it, right? And so I just
and
say,
they
talk.
love debate, right?
They
It's
love
part of
debate.
their
So
culture
you
to
just let them
debate.
debate. You don't have to defend God. You don't have to defend Jesus. Let them get it all out or whatever, and then move to the common ground. And there will be time. There will be time when they're genuinely interested to be discussing. So you don't have to win. You don't have to win all the time. You can and just be learning and let them speak. Let them. So yeah, lots more on that later.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Oh, yeah. Well, I hear you saying, just to kind of recap, that
yeah.
there are a few key things we need to learn when we're crossing cultures.
Mhm.
It's not rocket science. You don't have to know everything about them and about their religion and about their history, but you need to know what are those big barrier areas.
Yes.
If you can figure those out, find those out from somebody who's worked among them already, or just, what are the biggest barriers or things I need to avoid culturally, that can really help, but it doesn't take a long time to learn that. And if you don't have a way to learn that, just ask your friend who's from
Yes.
that context. Say, what are the biggest mistakes that people from my culture make when they interact with people of your culture? And
So
they'll
good.
tell you,
So good.
they'll tell you, oh, don't do this. And yeah, please don't feed them this or whatever it is. And just start as a learner, and they will teach you and God will teach you, but go for it. It's better to try and make some mistakes,
Absolutely.
and then to not try at all, which is what so many of us do when we're fearful or when we see this big divide and we don't know how to cross it. And let's overcome fear. Fear is not from God, and love drives out fear. So let's ask Him to place His love in our hearts for people of other religious faiths, of other cultures, of other communities than what we're from. Well, Jeannie, it's been amazing to have you and to learn so much. There's so much more that I love to ask you about. And are you free to
Yes,
stick
I
around
can
a
stay
little bit
on. Let's
longer?
let's dive deeper.
Awesome. Well, we're going to be right back with that in just a moment. And for those of you who want to go deeper, you want to receive these deeper dive videos that I'm making with various people that I'm interviewing, click the link below, join our membership, and we'll be able to offer you that content as well. But Jeannie, let's go ahead and we'll do that in just a moment.
Great. It's been a pleasure to be with you.
Are you ready to unlock your potential as a disciple maker? Then it is time to dive deeper into the principles that are changing lives with the Multipliers Mindset course. This transformative course accompanies the book The Multipliers Mindset, Thinking Differently About Discipleship by Cynthia Anderson. These lessons will help you not just through reading about a multiplying movement, but how to actively live out a lifestyle that leads towards movements. And here's the best part. It comes with a practical workbook, which is designed to take your learning even further. This workbook guides you step by step to apply what you learn and to impact the lives of lost people around you. With easy-to-follow steps, uplifting lessons, and timeless truths from the book, this course equips you to make disciples and to start groups that multiply. Visit multipliersmindset.com to step further into the work God is calling you to do. Let's multiply together.
Well, that was a great time with Jeannie Marie, learning how to cross the street or go across the world, cross cultural ministry. How do you initiate these conversations? What are some of the barriers? We have learned so much. As a quick recap, we talked about the top 3 challenges to disciple people cross culturally, and they are, the first one was thinking that you have to go abroad. There are people that we can disciple from among unreached people groups right in our backyard in most situations, or maybe we have to drive a little way, like she talked about, for maybe an hour, but we can get to them fairly easily from almost anywhere that we are. The second thing was that we need to set aside time. Time is a major barrier or a challenge we face. And the third one was that we need to learn how to speak in their way and enter into their culture in a way that we can be received. And so I love that. Another thing she talked about is that you need to go where they are and be among them. Find out where the Hindus or Buddhists or Muslims live, or other people from other groups that are different from you. Where do they live? Where do they hang out? How can I go and be among them? We see Jesus doing that all the time. He went and he was a friend of sinners. He went and hung out with people who were so different from him. And we want to be like Jesus in that way. And then we need to be willing to inconvenienced in order to reach those that have never had an opportunity to hear the good news. Jeannie talked about the millions, billions of people who have never had a chance to hear about Jesus, and the responsibility we have as followers of Jesus to go to them. And so let's be willing to be inconvenienced a bit, to be purposeful. I remember I wrote down, she said, I purposely put myself where she was. I purposefully put myself where she was. How can I purposefully put ourselves where lost people are? People of other religions, of other cultures. How can we intentionally get there to be with them? She talked about scheduling unplanned time in her calendar, time when she would be free to be able to pursue those relationships. And I think that's so true. We are so busy, but we need to put it in. In my course, we talk about putting in the big rocks, right? In our schedule, to have that unplanned time that we have set aside to build relationships with people of other cultures. And then listen, really listen to them. Listen and hear, what are their needs? What are their desires? What do they want? And how can we help them in those areas? She talked about listen, don't teach. And even as we're beginning Bible studies with them, listen to their answers and really listen, and how enriching it is. You're going to learn from them and their perspectives and the beauty of their cultures as they interpret the Bible in certain ways that you've maybe never thought about before. And then understand, and this is important, understand that there is a spiritual blindness that blocks people of other faiths from coming to Christ. And so we need to pray that the eyes of their hearts will be open to the truth. We can do the best we can in sharing, but it is God who will open their eyes to see who he is and give them a revelation of himself. So my action step for you today is think about those 3 challenges that she gave at the beginning. Do you have that mindset that I have to go abroad? Maybe God is wanting to use you right in your own backyard to touch the unreached. Or maybe time's an issue. If that's true, put something in your calendar, even today. Get your calendar out, get your diary out, and put a time in there when you're going to set aside time to be free to listen to the Holy Spirit and to go and reach lost people, especially those who are from other cultures. And then the third thing that she talked about was learning to speak in a way that allows you to enter respectfully into their culture. So, start with learning. If you don't know very much about different people groups that are in your city or in your area or your state or wherever you are, take some time to learn about them. Do a little bit of research, even if it's putting into Chat GPT. Tell me about the Hindus in Chicago, whatever it is, but begin to learn and ask the Holy Spirit to guide you and show you what he wants to show you about those people, and then begin to pray for them. We didn't talk a lot about prayer in the call, but Prayer is so key. And as we begin to pray for the unreached in our area, as we begin to pray for the Muslims and Buddhists and Hindus around us, God is going to give us his heart for them. And we'll begin to step out in faith to be light, to be salt, to be a witness among those who've never heard before. God bless you guys. Have a wonderful week. And don't forget, if you would like to have access to the Diving Deeper membership and my second interview with Jeannie Marie, I encourage you, sign up for the Diving Deeper level of membership. It's only $9.99, $10 a month, and you will get access to 3 more detailed blog articles where I explore further into key disciple-making topics. You'll also get access to an extra interview that I'm going to do with Jeannie Marie this month, with others who I bring on to the podcast. And you'll get access, you'll get 10% off of all our merchandise that we're going to be putting out. We got some really cool t-shirts coming out in a few months. And we've got lots of stuff that you'll get a discount on. Any new courses we have, you'll get 10% off on them as well. And a wonderful community of people who are pursuing the multiplication of disciples to interact with. A lot of people have told us, we're tired of Facebook. We want you to start a community that is apart from Facebook. And so access to our private communities are available through this as well. So check it out. It's multipliersmindset.com/DTM membership, which is Dare to Multiply, DTM membership. And I've got it there on the screen. If you're watching on YouTube, we'll put it in the show notes if you're listening on the podcast. But check it out. Consider joining and becoming a member. And that also helps me out, in being able to travel and do the things I do globally. So it'd be a great help to our ministry if you'd consider joining as a member even today. God bless you guys. Go and multiply disciples, and we will talk to you again soon. That's all we've got for this episode of Dare to Multiply. One thing that would really help both us and other people who might like to listen in is for you to rate and review the podcast, if you haven't done that yet, on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you listen. I'd also love to connect with you on Instagram, LinkedIn, or Twitter. Feel free to message me with any topics, questions you'd like addressed, or guests you'd like me to interview. Until next week, then, please remember, no matter how ordinary you feel, God's dreams for us are always bigger than we can imagine. Let's dare to trust Him for a greater harvest.